speech therapist introduced us to the film, the Oscar-winning film, The King's Speech. None of it is coming to the West End.
7 thick-stalked thistles through strong, thick sieves, 25 times in rapid succession.
You realise those are my hardest sounds?
Shall we make use of your good wife?
Yes, darling.
What exactly is my function here?
To pitch in.
Oh dear, I may not be the pitch-in type.
Piece of cake. Your husband will shout the vowel sounds, all 5 of them, as loudly as possible.
No, he won't.
Each to last no less than 15 seconds. Anyone who can stand vibrating loudly in full view of the world can learn to give a public speech.
He can also be considered quite dotty. Bertie, don't even contemplate.
Sorry, dear, it's doctor's orders.
Well, playing the King there, Charles Edwards, who joined us in the studio, and Emma Fielding, who was the Queen Mother. Guys, thank you very much indeed. How difficult, Charles, is it to put on a stutter?
It's quite difficult. It's settling now, but I had a couple of sessions before we started rehearsals with a wonderful lady called Annie Morrison, who used to work with stammerers. And that was to understand really the technicality and the physicality of the stammer. And there are millions of different types of stammer, and each has their own reason for being, in existence. And so it's a very personal, innately personal condition. But once the rule is now sort of settling, and I do tend to stammer now in the same spots each night, whereas before it was
I read an interview with Colin Firth, and he said that the danger of being so intense about all of this is that sometimes he thinks now he has developed a bit of a stutter, or he fears in real life he's developed.
I know what he means. It creeps in. It does. Inevitably, I suppose. But it's settling now.
Yeah. Now, Emma, fantastic this is on the stage. The play, the film wasn't a hugely, big, mega screen film, which means that it probably adapts quite well. But the thing is that it has set such a standard for you guys.
I know it has, and but I haven't actually. I've yet to see the film myself.
Really?
You must be the only person in Great Britain who hasn't. But it's not because I'm being grand. I just didn't get round to it. And then when I got the role, I thought, well, do I, don't I?
Yes.
And I thought, well, probably best not. And also, I'm a massive fan of Helena Bonham Carter's, and I knew that I could never do what she's done. So I just wanted to approach it like I would any other theatre script. And as we've gone on, and the group of people doing it, we're just finding our own way through it. And I think it's very intimate in the theatre. And to see someone struggling live in front of an audience brings an extra.
I think that's the key difference, other than there being a lot more political background to the story. I mean, because this is David's original play before it was adapted into a film. So he's been extremely pleased to reinstate stuff that perhaps was cut. Movies, it happens all the time. Things get cut for whatever reason. But he's very chuffed to have all his political backdrop in. There's a lot more of Churchill, Cosmo Lang, Baldwin, and a lot more of Logue and his wife, which was the role of whom was reduced in the movie.
Well, what about the Queen Mother as she became Elizabeth herself, Emma? What did you learn about him? I often wonder, when I looked at the film, I wonder, we're seeing clips from the making of the film here as opposed to your stage play. Would George or Albert, it was very confusing, he's Albert and he was George VI, isn't that?
Yeah.
Would he actually, Bertie, have gone ahead with the therapy without her?
Well, I think it's unlikely, actually. Because she was his support, his rock. He was terribly nervous in public, and people, a lot of the things I've read, that it was just a touch on his arm would calm him down and reassure him. And there are various stories as to how they found Logue, but she was the main instigator in pushing him in that direction. And he'd seen a lot of people prior to that. And in our version of events in the play, there's a line saying he's given up hope when she goes to see Logue. So this is the last.
Well, you were saying you haven't seen the film.
Yeah.
Charlotte and I haven't seen the play, but we intend to do, because it opened quite near to where we live. It's now transferred to the Wyndham's Theatre in the West End in central London. But you're a massive fan of the film, Charlotte.
Yeah.
Well, you're not really. You're just a massive fan of Colin Firth.
Well,
Let's
I
be
have to admit,
truthful.
he did play a big part in it for me. Yeah, but I just think it's a fascinating story as well to have that insight. It must have been, quite a thing for you to follow that when he's been that part, and so
Yeah.
publicly as well.
It didn't. Curiously, it didn't concern me. It didn't worry me. Similarly to Emma, I hadn't seen the movie until I learned about the possibility of doing this job. So, and I had a similar thought process, which is will I or won't I? But I chose to see it.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful performance, of course it is, and it's a wonderful, very moving film. But beyond that, it didn't trouble me. I didn't feel I was following or trying to achieve something that someone else had already achieved. Or it's like taking on any role, really. Many people have played, Benedict or any of these Shakespeare roles before, but that's no reason to, prevent you from trying it yourself.
Well, Charles, good luck. You're at the Wyndham's Theatre already, and you're there until July. I hope it's a good run for you after an initial sort of tour around a few regions. And thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.
That is the King's Speech. And here is the weather. Good night.